You know you're supposed to stop shrinking. You know it. The problem is you just don't know how to stop shrinking. And today I'm going to share with you exactly how you can stop shrinking, especially in those professional spaces where you need to start occupying space. Most people think that maybe it's a confidence issue or maybe it's a personality trait. I'm just not a person with a big personality. When in actual fact, shrinking a lot of times is learned behavior. And you can see it with how little children always showcase this sense of freedom. But then when you look back, you realize, when or how did I lose this freedom? It started in those small conversations when you started believing that being more agreeable, being the person that allows others to share their thoughts and secretly keeping yours to yourself is safe. And in doing that, you have learned that that would be how you show up, and you started believing that that's the real you. When in actual fact, the real you lives in your mind, where you keep those brilliant ideas, where you keep those brilliant opinions, and you just never share them. Today, I'm going to help you to start being brave enough to share them so that you can be unforgettable in every room. What I want you to realize the next time you start to shrink is start taking note of how your body changes in those moments, how your physical appearance starts to shrink, how you start to lower your chin, how you start to reduce your eye contact, how you start to look to the ground, just how your shoulders start to go down because you don't want to assert your body into the conversation. Because the moment you start becoming aware of what your body does and you start changing that immediately, you are already coming against the idea of shrinking. Because awareness is the first place you want to start to gain success and power over something that's making you keep yourself small. The second thing I want you to start thinking about is how, when you are shrinking in those moments, you often say something, but you end off the last few sentences. It's like it needs to disappear, almost like you're not wanting people to think that you're sure of what you've just said. So this means in those moments you add a little thing like, oh yeah, but maybe if it makes sense. And you look down and you're not saying it maintaining eye contact. You're not saying it completing the sentence. You're not saying it like the thought matters and you hope they heard it. You're saying it like, I hope it was heard, but not really. So you need to finish your sentences as strong as you start them. And that's how you start to take back your power from shrinking. Another thing you need to do is you need to start taking up vocal space. And yes, my clients that come to my desk saying, Palesa, the thing is I speak very soft. I often smile and say, yeah, that's what all instruments believe. No, what I mean by this is that, do you really speak soft, or is it something that you've chosen as a way to survive? Because if I had to take a snake and throw it in front of you, a lot of the people's softness would disappear. Because in that moment, you're just so afraid, you become big, but you're afraid of that big person. So what you need to do is give yourself permission to speak as loud as you can first. And I'm not saying scream at people. What I'm saying is speak uncomfortably loud until you become familiar with speaking louder. Until speaking louder doesn't feel like you're being aggressive. Until speaking louder doesn't feel like you're breaking the class rules. Oh my goodness, school ruined it again. They awarded us for keeping it soft and whispering and keeping it low. When in actual fact, when you are sitting in spaces right now, what you lack is the volume of what your thoughts are thinking, but it's just not coming through your mouth. So speak louder. Louder. Do you hear me? Speak louder. And then I want you to think of it like this. What I'm saying is not that you now need to speak a lot, but I'm saying is that try and make sure that in every engagement you at least contribute once. And this is simply by planning a statement that you're going to add, by thinking of a question and sharing it, by raising your hand and acknowledging something that might have been overlooked in a meeting. What I'm saying is start planning to show up with presence into moments and not to plan not to be seen, because that's one of the things people do when they're shrinking. They're hoping they're not noticed when they enter the room. They're hoping no one asks them a question. But it changes everything when you walk into rooms and you're saying, I'm planning to ask a question. I'm planning to contribute an idea today. And I'm not saying the whole meeting, I'm saying one idea, one question, one statement. Because growth is not about eating the whole elephant at once, but it is about taking small bites in order to get to the finish line. And now I want you to take this point as a sense of comfort and compassion towards yourself. Expansion often feels very uncomfortable, especially when you're trying to empower yourself to take up change. When we do new things, we're going to feel like this doesn't feel right. But it's not about it feeling right because you haven't been doing this. It's unfamiliar to your body. It's about doing it anyway. And knowing that even if it doesn't feel right, the more I do it, the less it will feel like I'm experiencing some form of dissonance between my mind and my body. So allow the discomfort for a little while. You'll get used to it. You'll get used to speaking up. You'll get used to sitting up. You'll get used to sharing your questions or statements until the end. All of that will become normal. So let me take you just briefly through all of this again. Remember, shrinking is not your personality. It is literally just something you learn to survive the rooms and the spaces that you are in. And now you need to start becoming more aware. Become aware of it when your body starts to become smaller, starts to look down, starts to look to the side, when you are not giving yourself permission to show up. Take note of those moments when you start a sentence and almost phase away there at the end, and end your sentences as powerfully as you started them. Without flinching, keep it until the end. And then you want to ensure that as you are speaking, you are taking note of the loudness that you are using. And this is not to scream and shout, but to just speak a bit louder than you usually would. And this is because you can. You have the vocal capacity. Trust me, you've seen it when you're scared. And then I want you to start thinking of contributing as your duty. Do it every single time. Plan to add an opinion. Plan to ask a question. Show up in those moments like it matters. And then the last one. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Take it easy. It's going to be very uncomfortable, but that discomfort is a sign of growth. And as you do that, show up, shine. If you enjoyed this episode, I want you to take a moment to give yourself permission to shine even further. At the bottom of this, I'm going to leave a link to a free webinar that we have, which is called Speak to Get Promoted. Because you know you're competent, you're intelligent, you're experienced, but you're shrinking and you're not showing up as your true self. And I would like to guide you in this free webinar how you can become the you that you know in your mind that you're meant to be. Until I see you again next time, remain unforgettable.